The 28th African Union Summit kicked off earlier this week in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. The gathering saw many developments, such as the appointment of Moussa Faki Mahamat as the new chairperson of the AU Commission. The other new developments is the readmission of Morocco to the African Union bloc more than 3 decades after it left. And the third one, it is the approval by the African leaders for a collective withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. Joining us from our studios in Pretoria to discuss these and, of course, other issues in relation to the summit is Dr. Paul Simon Handy. He is the head of Conflict Prevention and Risk Analysis Division of the ISS in Pretoria. Dr. Paul, good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning.
Let us just start first with the appointment of the new AU Commission. We do know that Amina Mohamed, who is Kenya's foreign minister, was the preferred candidate. What do you think changed?
Look, this election is secret. So, and Kenya did an excellent campaign indeed, but at the end of the day, the head of state decide, and they decide in a secret poll. So what we know is that many things certainly change at the end. Amina Mohamed was a very strong candidate. She was a front runner together with Senegal's Abdoulaye Bathily. But at the end, I think Chad was able to manage an excellent campaign, presenting the candidate as a compromise candidate.
All right. Because I wanted us to look at perhaps the advantages that Mohamed had over the other candidates that were mentioned.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I was saying that I wanted you to touch on perhaps maybe the advantages. Like you're saying that Kenya had a beautiful campaign, to tout Mohamed, but she did not come out victorious. What advantages do you personally think that Mohamed had over the other candidates?
I think Mohamed has been for Kenya quite a successful foreign minister. She has particularly championed Kenya's campaign for a mass withdrawal of African countries from the ICC, the International Criminal Court. She was the face of that campaign, which of course improved her network within the continent. She was able to meet several heads of state. And as a foreign minister back home, she was quite good, and she seemed to have the skills necessary to lead the AU. But of course, she also had strong competition, and even this campaign for mass withdrawal from the ICC might have also been one of the reasons why she wasn't elected.
Oh, all right. Yeah, let's look at that decision by the African countries to withdraw from the ICC. Do you think, is it really a bleak or a new day for the African continent?
No, I don't think we should overestimate these latest decision by heads of state. First of all, this was expected, and if you look at the decision, the text of the decision is not binding. So in a way, it's just half a victory for those championing this campaign. But in reality, it doesn't bind any African countries to get out of the ICC. And the AU itself is not a member of the Rome Statute. It's not a signatory. So in reality, I don't think these decisions should be overestimated. It's a symbolic decision. It's an important one, but I don't think it will massively change the stand of the ICC in Africa. What I think we should retain is the call within this decision for a reform of the ICC, but many countries like Nigeria and other supporters of the ICC like Senegal think the ICC should be reformed from within.
Yeah, because it's not quite popular with many African leaders that we do know. On to another important issue, Dr. Paul, the Morocco issue. South Africa has voiced its position against the readmission of Morocco, but we've seen that the vote spoke. President Jacob Zuma as well saying that it was quite a difficult decision, but it was necessary.
Yeah, I think Morocco is a natural member of the African Union. Morocco decided on its own in 1982 to withdraw, and but Morocco realized that being outside the AU was politically more damageable than being inside. And I think Morocco also had to calm down a bit on one of its principles, which was to force the AU to review the membership of the Arab Sahrawi Front, the Polisario Front. And by doing that, I think Morocco paved the way for its readmission and for the votes of even strong opponents to its readmission.
But do you personally think that the decision leaves the organization divided? I mean, 39 voted in favor of Morocco being readmitted and 10 against the move.
Yes, look, it was a controversial decision because of the very fact that actually led to Morocco's withdrawal from the AU several years ago, several decades ago, by the way. The decision was actually for the AU to consider the Polisario Front, the Arab Sahrawi Democratic, as an AU member. So the AU considers the Polisario issue, the crisis in Western Sahara, as a decolonization problem, whereas Morocco considers it as an internal matter that can and should be solved internally.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry?
No, you can go ahead.
Yeah, then, of course, for Morocco, this decision by the AU was unacceptable, hence the withdrawal. But Morocco being out of the AU hasn't actually led to any change of the AU policy, on the opposite. So that's why Morocco came back. But of course, Morocco also had strong opponents within the AU, and starting with Western Sahara bigger support, Morocco's neighbor, Algeria.
Now, last year we've seen the African Union that it was applauded for its decision to impose a levy on member states, which will bring dignity to the African Union as an organization, so that it can be able to bring about its independence. How far will that take, Doctor, in pursuing peace, specifically on the continent?
I'm not hearing you well. Can you repeat the question, please?
All right. I was saying that last year, the African Union, we know that it was applauded for its decision to impose a levy on member states that will bring dignity to the African Union as a whole, as an organization. So my question to you is, how far will that take, in terms of pursuing peace and stability in the continent?
Oh, I think it will go a long way. The AU in general, and the Commission, the African Union Commission in particular, including the Peace and Security Council, have massively improved their workings. And one of the biggest obstacles to the AU agenda was, of course, the extreme dependence on external funds, on external donors. So it's also a matter of African responsibility for African states to do the necessary to improve an organization that politically represents them outside the continent and is the face and the voice of the continent. So I think this will go a long way in improving African ownership within the AU.
All right, Dr. Simon Hendy, we'll leave it at that, but thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Dr. Paul Simon Hendy is the head of the Conflict Prevention and Risk Analysis Division from the Institute of Security Studies, talking to us about the 28th African Union Summit that started earlier this week in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.